I'm a fan of fantasy, so I listen to Easy and Alan on their Just a Fantasy Fan podcast. Now here's Easy and Chris Allen.
And welcome back to another Wednesday night with me and Mr. Chris Allen, FFWX. Mr. Chris Allen, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to sit down and talk with you again this week. How you doing, man?
Oh, do you get excited? Come on.
I do. What are you talking about? Like we get to argue with each other for
all the big wigs in the industry now that I see you out there and about in social media chatting it up with, names. I'm just me.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Just me.
Just me, huh?
Now I'm guessing, though, I do bring up things that they don't bring up, right? I mean, that's the advantage of this show. I'm here as a fan.
Of course. Yeah.
I don't, act the same. I don't, I talk like a fan. That's kind of why I started this, because there's times where the fans don't get their voice heard.
Right.
You experts start talking and you act like there is no real fan.
So you are the voice of the people.
Right.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
The voice.
You're the voice of the people. I got it. I
am the voice of the people. I don't get you. I don't let you guys get away with some of this stuff.
Right.
You guys will just say things and the other expert will just agree and you keep on going. Well, sometimes the me's out there have to go, what? What are they talking about?
Like, oh, you just made up some fancy stat and used some words like curmudgeon that I don't understand, or mechanics, or all this other stuff that I don't get. So you obviously just made it up, and I don't believe you.
Exactly.
See, I know. Okay, all right, I understand.
And I do see we have Double A out there listening. I do a show with Double A. The A-hole hour.
Yes.
And, we have a good time. We have fun. And, he's saying we are a power couple. If we are a power couple, you're the D battery and I'm the double A.
Okay.
So in this couple, there is also a double A. You're the D. You bring the big amps. I bring the little amps. That's all.
But we still got the power.
Right. 3 volts. We have 3 volts.
We still got the power. All right.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We do our best. Best. Are you making it through, surviving the world we live in today? Are you ignoring it? Are you getting into the fantasy and just kind of moving forward? Give me a little insight there, Mr. Allen.
Well, to be quite honest, I think please be honest. This past week has been a little bit more like I've been doing some more writing. I've actually stopped writing for about a few weeks, just with everything that's been going on. I've been paying more attention to that, and it's just been, to be flat out honest, it's just been exhausting. But this past week, I've started writing a bit more. Started to feel a bit more motivated to do more fantasy work. But in the meantime, I did a podcast. I don't know, for folks that are out there who know who he is, Sam Stompy Lane, who was the Scott Fishbowl champion for the past year.
I mean, I'm a champion.
Well, yes, I know.
Double A there, champion. I think in baseball, but he's a champion this year.
Yeah.
So, champions. If we're gonna go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
But I sat down with him to do a podcast. It's called Listen A, and it was my perspectives as an African American living in times like these, and just like my life in general. So it was a good conversation. Lasted about an hour. In the meantime, I've been donating to some of the causes that have been going on. And so, yeah, that's what I've been doing, spending my time and just listening and researching about a lot of the events that have been transpiring in our country for the past few weeks, and obviously beforehand. But
right, I watched the, our neighbor Dave Chappelle has a special out right now, 8:46.
Yep, watched it.
We watched it tonight. Very powerful. Obviously discusses a lot about Ohio and the stuff that happened in Beaver Creek and all that. And, just a powerful time. And yeah, sometimes, and you feel bad and you hear this both ways, and some people think it's wrong. Sometimes you just want to say, okay, I want to forget that for a minute and just do my fantasy thing. And there's people out there who would say, we don't get that opportunity. We can't turn it off. And
I cannot.
It makes you right. And that's my point. It isn't, and maybe that's the case. It isn't something that we should turn off, and I think Dave Chappelle kind of said that in his thing. A lot of the people he discussed there, those shootings happen and then things happen for a few days and then nothing, it goes away. And this time, maybe a little different. So, but we'll move forward a little bit at a time and, discuss fantasy here. And I guess the last thing, the football players do seem to be the big sports group. A lot of sports people are stepping up, but it does seem like football is obviously the main one. I'll ask you your opinion. Is it because straight out, is it because of the Kaepernick thing? What he did back then, is that why they're stepping up? Or is it that it just happens to be they're the season coming up, so they're in the eye right now? Or a combination, or just that they're more outspoken or maybe less appreciated sometimes. I feel that way. It seems like in basketball and baseball, the appreciation seems to be a little bit different, at least the way ownership sometimes feels, or I look at it a little bit. So what's your opinion on why football players seem to be at the top of this list right now?
I think it's the confluence of all of those things. I mean, the NFL and how it's had their run-ins with the intersection of politics and sports, where the NFL has had more backlash on the players for expressing themselves and the causes that they support versus what the NBA, MLB, so on and so forth have allowed some of their players to do. And you get that tagged with, of course, the Colin Kaepernick situation from a few years ago, the anthem protest from from the past season, all the way up until what's going on in the community surrounding a lot of those players, especially, happened in Minnesota. It's just that was, at the epicenter of everything that's going on right now. And it's difficult for these athletes and people with larger platforms to just not do anything. And I think it's a very positive thing for them to actually, speak out and bring the word to other folks in order to try and educate and also inspire other people to go out and do the same thing, or if not go out and do the same thing for fear of, because of COVID, inspire them to do what they can in order to support everything.
Right. Speaking, and I think you're right. It's just a combination of everything, but I'm glad to see sports, obviously they're not in the spotlight right now because there aren't sports going on, but, and that's kind of given them this opportunity also to take the reins and run with it, which is also why basketball's having issues. There's a few people don't think basketball should start, and it's for different, not just the virus, but also, a couple of them think that no, they can't be in that bubble. They need to be out and talking freely about their feelings. And it does make it hard that even they have to make that decision. Maybe, the fact they have to make that decision is a little crazy. Speaking of the virus and getting right into some fantasy and some football, because normally we go on too long and there's no NASCAR tonight. And I got a couple of comments that we talk NASCAR too much. So I'm going to just, we'll skip that. But Ezekiel Elliott is a coronavirus recipient. I've heard both. I've heard people already today saying they're lowering him down their draft boards. And I've heard people say they're raising him up on their draft boards because now, they're pretty confident he'll get through this. So it makes him less likely to miss any time during the regular season. I'm just curious, your opinion, does this change it at all? My mind doesn't change anything. I'm just curious where you are.
I'm not going to change anything until I know more. I think the folks that are saying, well, yeah, it's good that he got it now. I think that's, to me, that sounds callous and slightly misguided because we don't know how he's going to react like during his quarantine time. Right. So to say that like the same day that he tested positive for it, I think that's a misstep because we don't know what's going to happen. Even if he doesn't show any symptoms, but let's say it shows like a minute drop in his lung capacity. But then like athletes need to be in the best possible shape. I mean, especially a running back. But they need to be in the best possible shape. All of them do. So even a minor hit to them, it would be like a massive hit to us because his possible production would wind up being hurt. So it's just, we don't know. And so for me right now, I'm holding firm on the idea that he'll be okay. But still, until I know more, I'm trying not to react too much, like based off of the fact that we just don't know.
Right. And AA made a comment about the all the rich dudes being stuck in a motel at Disneyland, and how quickly would they go stir crazy. I agree. I think that would be hard. I don't care, money aside or not.
Mm-hmm. I'd lose my mind.
I don't think they will be alone. They'll be with each other, and I think that's a little different. Alone is the worst, right? There's alone, and then there's being confined with a certain group, and obviously that group can drive you crazy pretty quick. But I understand these are guys that are used to being free to do whatever they want. I think it is going to be tough for the NBA, but at least I think we're going to get NBA. I'm convinced now that Major League Baseball isn't going to happen at all. So I heard
they were working towards a deal. That's what I saw a couple hours ago.
The rumor I hear now is this working towards a deal is a stunt by the ownership now to kind of ownership. From what I understand, is going to be better off if there is no season, actually. So they're trying to, make this seem like they're trying to put it on the players. Like they tried and the players didn't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if they don't start in a couple of weeks, they're not going to have a season at all. So, they're drawing this out so that they don't have to pay the players at all if there's no season versus if they play 50 games, they got to pay them. And that's part of the problem. The players want a larger chunk to play those 50 games.
Yeah, I think the report I saw was something like do the 50 games and expanded playoffs, prorated salaries, all that stuff.
But still a lot less money than they were contracted. And that's the problem. They get hurt. If you get hurt during one of these 50, during a 50 game season that, I'm not going to say doesn't mean anything, but everybody knows there'll be an asterisk. Technically now it doesn't mean anything. Mm-hmm. Everyone will know there's even a champion during this season now would be questioned. So, but you take somebody who's on a contract year that blows out an arm or something like that could lose hundreds of millions of dollars, because believe it or not, it doesn't matter how you rate baseball on the top sports thing. They are paid the most.
Right.
Baseball players get paid a lot of money when it comes per player, and definitely compared to football, which is also back to our original thing. A lot of these football players, I think, are actually closer to what's going on. Yes, even the lowest paid NFL guy makes a couple of dollars, but they're not making, the worst guy on a baseball team almost makes as much as makes almost as much as probably the mid-player guy on an NFL team, a starter even. They get paid quite a bit more. So it's crazy, when you think of it that way. And, it's just, I miss my sports. I did watch golf this weekend. I know AA is a big fan of watching golf and NASCAR. I'll laugh out loud. But, I have gotten into that a little bit, but we'll see. I know soccer's coming. I don't know. I think NASCAR and golf was easier for me to hook on to than if soccer was the only sport right now. I'd probably still just watch reruns of Laugh-In. I don't know.
That bad, huh?
That bad. I'm not a soccer guy. I don't know.
All right.
Should Lamar Jackson be playing touch football on a beach?
Why not?
Because he runs into a jet ski that's parked on the beach. I realize the video shows that he didn't get injured, but I don't know. It just seems like, I've been on beaches, man. There's little shells and they're sharp. There's stingrays and starfishes and all kinds of nasty stuff. Get off of the beach. If you want to go on a high school field somewhere. Just don't go to Welcome Stadium.
Oh, well, yeah.
But
we can't have that.
I don't know. It just seems like playing touch football on a beach is something you don't want,
Yeah.
And he now carries the option of a curse coming, because he is on the cover of Madden this year. So, I don't know. I'd be telling him, let's don't be playing football on the beach. That's scary. So,
not if he doesn't have to. I mean, if he can be at home.
I don't think he had to. He just wanted to do it.
Yeah,
crazy.
Well, I mean, let that man live his life, and if he I think he'll be all right. I think. All right. I mean,
all right.
We can't we can't just take these guys and wrap them up in bubble wrap and then just pack them away and then just bring them out in August and be like, hey, back to work.
We'll see. Yeah. Okay, and that's because he didn't get hurt. We all know if he'd got hurt, people would be singing a different tune that, he ruptured ACL playing, on the beach, blah, blah, blah. People would be flipping out. So
see, the part that makes me mad is the fact that they'd only be upset because it affects their fantasy team or it affects the Ravens play, like not for his well-being. Like they're not mad about his well-being.
I would be, but I know what you're saying.
Like that. That's where people immediately go. It's just like, oh well, now my fantasy team is gonna suck. It's not like he could have possibly,
right.
legitimately hurt himself.
He's a keeper in a lot of leagues. So.
Yeah, like I need you out here because you're my number one keeper. Prayer hands emoji. It's like come on, man.
Right. All right. Clowney is still a lot of rumors that he goes to the Browns. If he goes to the Browns, there's a lot of people that still like that offense, that they're going to, a lot of weapons, a lot of things where they're going to score points. Mm-hmm. But as Cleveland Browns defense is getting better and better, does that actually hurt everybody's offensive value fantasy wise? If Clowney ends up a Brown, and as a Bengals fan, I'm not happy that that's going
to hurt.
Yes, it would. So
yeah, I mean, it would. I don't think from an offensive standpoint, it's going to wind up hurting too many people. I mean, will they have the option to sit on leads in a very similar fashion to the way that Minnesota would, like once they got like ahead in games? Right. That's possible, but we won't really know that as of right now until like that we actually see games played. So I will just bank on them having a good defensive unit. One that I would wind up wanting to draft because they're one of the ones that's drafted, let's say in the like defense, like 12 to 13 like range. That's because everyone's going for the Baltimore, San Francisco, like most of those that go towards the front. Even Dallas is now moving up there. Cleveland is still one of those defenses you can draft late. And I wouldn't mind, especially with the way that unit played, like prior to the suspension especially last season, that you could wind up having a decent unit for most of the season.
Right. Maybe helps Chubb a little bit if they're going to hold on the ball. I know they've got two running backs there, but it seems like Chubb would be the one if they're trying to run clock that would be on the field maybe a little bit more. But,
you'll probably see a decent amount of analysis done. Let's say if they do the Clowney trade, I'm willing to bet you'll wind up seeing splits of like how much Kareem Hunt touched the ball versus how much Nick Chubb touched the ball when they were behind or ahead in games, in positive, negative game strips, all that stuff.
Right.
I'm betting that'll come out like within the first 15 minutes.
Right. All right. One last thing, and then we'll get into our best ball.
Let's do it.
It came up today in our league, and then I brought the question also, I'm just curious for you, have any of your leagues yet discussed, or do they already have something in the bylaws, let's say, that to go towards what may happen if this season is shortened? I mean, my concern is not, and I'm not talking shortened at the beginning. My concern is if we shorten it at the end, because if it's at the beginning and we know right away, that's obviously easy enough to fix so that we still can manage our playoffs and all that. But if something were to happen where very quickly they only play 8 weeks or 9 weeks, or, really anywhere less than 10 weeks, especially in head-to-head leagues, which in fantasy football is a lot more common than in baseball, where they play, more points. Right. But are any of your leagues, already discussing this? Because to me, this is something that could affect how I draft, knowing how our league will be affected if there's a shortened season. So I want to know in our league, and that's what I told them, guys, I don't care what we vote on one way or the other, but I want to know before. I mean, we need to know the rules before, because obviously if you're going to, I guess there's a couple ways to do it that I've heard talked about. To me, there's only one way to do it. If the season if you can't end with a proper playoff, you just have to either two things: the season's canceled, everyone gets their money back, or two, you just divert back to points, and the number one point scorer for the season's your champion. The number two, number three, number four guys all get paid some cash and you move on. So the initial question is, are any of your leagues discussing this? Have they discussed it? Or do you think it's even a concern?
We've started discussing it. We haven't come up, or we haven't voted yet on any rules implementations, because at this point, nobody's entirely sure, or we don't have a consensus opinion as to if the season's going to be shortened or whatever. But we've at least started the discussion about how we're going to change the league. Like we've discussed, increasing in one league, it's like increasing our total fab. In another league, it was completely removing the number of waiver transactions you can do per week, because we had one that limited you to 5 per week. We've been, I think, in one of my leagues that I'm the commissioner for, I'm putting a rule out on there to have team quarterback or team positions as being an option.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right now. Because everyone threw that out at me today. Here's my problem with everything.
I'm throwing it out. I'm throwing. No. Hold on. Let me finish. I'm just saying that's an option. I'm not saying I'm advocating for it one way or the other. I'm just saying I think those are all really good options, but they don't address the issue, which is if the season stops at week 9, what do we do? We don't know. We don't know.
Okay, but my problem is we won't. The season will start. We're not going to know. That's my point. The NFL's not going to come out and tell us we're going to end the season in week 9 this year. No, what's going to happen is they're going to start the season, plan on playing it out, and then I'm throwing it out there. The end of October, the virus comes back. They shut the season down. And that's my point. If it happens, it's going to happen quickly. So how big your IR spots, how much fab money, I get it. I think those are all good things if you're considering the season's going to be shortened maybe at the beginning or shortened in the middle and then, accelerated at the end. I get all that. My concern is, and I'm only asking, if the season stops in week 9, what are you doing? I think that, to me,
shut it down. Everybody gets their money back.
So that's what you're saying. You don't revert back to points.
Just shut it down.
All right.
Shut it down. Everybody gets their money back. See y'all next year.
All right. And that's the way you're thinking off the top of your head, or you have leagues where that's already been voted on, or that's what they've discussed.
That's what I'm thinking off the top of my head, and what I would advocate for, just to make it quick, simple. League shuts down, we shut down.
And I think I could agree with that one. But
regardless of standings, I mean, I don't care.
All right. So everyone plays because obviously, and even I say week 9 or 10, the only reason I say week 9 or 10 is in the head-to-head, if you get through week 11, that means you should have played everybody once, and maybe you could just say, okay, based on record, is that something you would consider if you made it to, let's say 12, if it's a 12-team league and you made it to week 11, that would mean everyone played everyone at least one time. So do you consider just doing, okay, best record blah, blah, blah? Or even then, if you can't get to the playoffs, are you just saying, okay, season's over, no one gets paid, here's all your money back?
Yeah, I'm hard pressed to believe that, like, even at 12 weeks.
And see, I think I can buy you your thing for a lot of leagues where it's just random people. But in big home leagues that have been together 7, 8, 9 years, it's hard just to say this season didn't count. I mean,
yeah, I think that might be different. And if you can get like family, close friends, like people that can all come to an agreement as to how to proceed with the league, then I think those are unique leagues of their own. But I'm talking about, like, if it's a work league, it's a rando league that you get invited to. Right. I mean, if the season shuts down, just shut it down. Just everybody get their money back.
Because there's no way on those kind of leagues usually that you can even get enough people together to vote. You know, I mean, it's hard to really do.
Yeah. I would rather just make the decision up front, like say, hey, I mean, we just happened to get 12 people together, and we're just going to throw this league together. And if it runs its course, great. If the season shuts down, I don't care who's in first or who's in last. Everybody gets their money back, because I don't want to have to deal with it. Because in most of those leagues, a lot of folks, like some folks, don't even check their rosters. People aren't making a ton of trades anyway in some of these work leagues. There's not a ton of interaction other than the draft. So it's just, I would just rather everybody get their money back and we're just done.
Right. And most of the best balls are doing what? And we'll get into that. Most best balls saying if it's not a complete season, it's all your money back.
Yep. Period. You just get all your money back.
All right. Because see, we've brought up multiple things, and in our league, they're trying to maybe decide, well, maybe if there's this many games, we go based on record. If there's this many games, we go by points. If there's this many games, we do record and then points. I don't know. It's all confusing to me. It's either I think I agree with you. It's either nothing, the season didn't count, or if you know going in, then, okay, guys, here's what we're going to do. It's head-to-head, and if the season plays out, nothing changes. We have playoffs. We do everything. Or if the season is canceled for any reason, we just go points, and we're going to pay out 1 through 4, and the number 1 points guy up to that point is our winner. At least then you can manage your team a little bit thinking, hey, you know what? I'm not saying you have to draft major changes or do big moves thinking that. But at the same time, in the back of your head, you have to be going, you know what? Points are still important. Me and you play, we know points are important, so we do it every week anyway. But, some random people are out there. But it does, in my mind, two people quickly on my mind. If I know points might be an option in our league, I think Marlon Mack and Damian Williams, those type players, would now mean around better to me. I might move them up around because, hey, if this ends in 8 weeks, but I got 4 or 5 starting weeks out of a Mac and a Damian Williams who are drafting pretty low, I might take that shot. I might say I'm going to reach for those guys a little bit, because they have that early potential to be game changers in the first 4 or 5 weeks. So those are the kind of players I'm talking about. If you know the rule before you draft, to me, those are important things to know versus, hey, if its season is not going to finish, then we're not going to do anything. Well, then I don't care. Damian and Mac just are where they're at. And, and actually I probably drop them around because I'm not a fan of either one yet. Anyway, I know you're a Damian Williams guy. So, all right.
I mean, it may be a thing, maybe like an amnesty period for like keeper leagues. So just in case if people want to figure out what their keepers might like that, but those are unique cases that you need to get everybody's buy-in on.
This is a keeper league, and quickly somebody in our league came up and said, well, I think if there's no season or it's cut short, we should get to keep our keepers instead of 2 years. We should maybe only get we should be able to, instead of bumping them 2 rounds, maybe only bump around. Now, my argument was, no, if you start doing a million little things, it's just too confusing. My thing would be, it's like baseball, the Dodgers, the Dodgers, gave away 2 top prospects to get Mookie Betts on their team this year for a 1-year deal. That's not going to work out. He's a free agent now next year, and the Dodgers don't get anything out of him. But the Boston Red Sox got 2 2 up and comers. So to me that would be my argument. No, you know what? Rosters changed in my thing. I don't even think keepers should change. If you made a deal knowing that this may happen and it hurt you, that's on you, not me. So I just think it just needs to be cut or dry, in my opinion. No season at all, or you go back to points, or maybe, I don't know, maybe because of this season, you just say, guys, let's just do points all together. I've never played in a points only league other than in baseball. Mm-hmm. So, maybe you just say, hey, for this season, we're just going to play points right from the get-go, so, right. There is no head-to-head. We're just going to every week play the points. And obviously if it plays out, we're going to play all the way through, week, 16 or 17. A lot of points leagues play all the way through week 17.
Right.
So, I don't know. I just wanted your opinion to see where you at. I knew you commissioned a few leagues, and
there's people need to start having these conversations now.
Exactly. That's the point. Yeah. Either way, it needs to be written somewhere in your bylaws. I mean, something needs to be written down.
Like you should be like, if you have a Facebook group, I know one of mine, I run through a Facebook group. Another one that I'm on also has a Facebook group. Pretty much all my other ones are either on like the apps, the social apps like GroupMe and like other stuff.
Yeah.
And we're already like, what's this? And this is just for redraft. I'm not even talking about dynasty stuff. We're already like talking about like what are things going to look like, and just having the conversation. We haven't implemented anything,
and if anything,
votes are coming.
The bylaw needs to be written. I also said in my league today, to me, which is why they were doing all this weird stuff, trying to fix this season. I'm like, guys, no, I think it just needs to be written so it works for any season. Meaning, if we play this many games, no season. If we play this many games, we go back to points. Sure. If we play the whole season out, we just play our regular rules. And you sign off and say that's forever. Meaning that's now a bylaw, because obviously we've learned from this year, shit can happen. So it might as well be written down somewhere. And we go from there. So, because this is the first year in a few years I didn't play basketball fantasy. Obviously, basketball fantasy, I'm sure there's leagues that didn't have anything written in their rules. And then this year, there's no season halfway through. I'm sure there's some leagues where they're still discussing what to do with money and how to decide. Because I would understand if we didn't discuss it and all of a sudden there's no league and I was like, I'm winning the league by 200 points, nobody even close. I'd be going, wait a minute, what do you mean we're going to scrap the season? So that's my point. If it's not written down before the season, it's a lot hard to argue. And my argument would be, if there was no rule or bylaw and the season ended tomorrow, I'm sorry, if I'm in first place, I'm in first place. Now, again, that's the problem. In head-to-head, where you have to have a playoff, there's no playoff. So what do you do?
Right.
You have to have something written down. So
yeah, I agree.
All right. We're going to get into a best ball we've been discussing for a couple weeks tonight.
What's best ball?
That I have had a few people actually ask me that. One, obviously you're not listening to the show, but two, listen to our last two episodes. We discuss it.
Yeah, do that.
Today, we're going to do however many rounds we can get in here in about 30 minutes. We're going to do a mock draft. Let me see if I can make this work.
Let's do it.
Do you see that? Can you see the screen?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So we're going to do a mock, and I do have it set for mock, best ball, ADP and everything to be in here.
Go.
I'm going to do PPR. We're going to do snake. I'm going to hit the randomize button. Now, I was debating, do we want to do randomize or do we want to maybe just pick in the middle of the draft so each round we have something to talk about quickly to get through it?
No, let's do it random, because I'd at least like to talk about how draft slot affects strategy. So here we go.
I'm going to hit that next. Then we will be drafting from the third spot.
Okay.
I didn't change this much to what I'm playing in another league, and I've been mock drafting 1 quarterback, 2 RBs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 regular flex, 1 super flex, 1 DST, 1 kicker, 1 bench. I don't know. A lot of best balls, do they do defense and kicker?
FFPC does defense and kicker.
Okay, then I'll leave them in there. Do most of them do 2 QB, or do they do a super flex or 1 QB? What's most common, or what do you want to do here?
Most common is single QB.
All right, I'm taking out that, and let me put it to 0. All right, and we're good there. 7 bench spots.
So that's 1. So it's 1 flex or 2 flex?
1 flex. Is that what we want?
Yeah, 3 wide receivers and 1 flex.
Yep.
Yeah, that works.
1 tight end. All right. I got it set to best ball. And guys, just let you know, we don't get paid a dime. I use Fantasy Pros for a lot of things, including mock drafting, just letting you know.
Sure.
And they do let you do a lot of management, a lot of stuff for free. So I'll just tell you out front. But I do pay and use it, all year long, because I do all the fantasies usually. Like I said, it's first year in a long time I haven't done NBA. But once you pay, you get baseball, you get hockey, you get basketball, you get all the seasons. So I kind of like that. And I just really like their ADP or their expert ADP. They have one of the sites that has the most experts that are put in their consensus. So I really like that, where I get a good idea of what everyone's doing. So there we go. I'm going to hit the start a draft.
So we're at number 3, right?
Number 3, why don't you, while it's loading up, discuss draft position if you have the option to select a spot.
Sure. So what I'll do here real quick is, so Rich Rebar and draft slot. So let's see. So there was a,
and just while you're looking that up, I will let you know the first 2 picks were McCaffrey and Barkley. So we obviously, at this point, a lot of people are looking at Kamara or Elliott.
Here, let the folks see my screen real quick.
Let me share yours. Hold on. Let me shut this one off. Remove, and I can share yours. Here we go.
All right. So for the folks looking at home, this was a chart from RotoViz that Rich Rebar had put up a couple of days ago, and this actually kind of cements home like what you can expect like from in terms of drafting from the certain positions. And like from a historical standpoint, like in best ball drafts, the earlier the pick, the better. And this is something that it came to mind, at least for me, in terms of like, well, what happens, what are the draft tendencies like from each of these slots? And for a lot of them, it's that you have the ability to get one of those early round running backs, those bell cows, those guys in the best situations. And then on the back end, you have your pick of either a running back 2 that also has a good situation, or one of the top end or one of the top wide receivers and or tight ends, depending on if you're playing at best ball 10s or if you're playing at FFPC. So there's a lot of flexibility in what you're capable of doing, and also the available targets, projected targets.
Is this study based on best ball or all fantasy football?
Best ball.
Okay.
Yeah, this is for best ball. So it's just, you want to be here. But, and I mean, if at the turn, if you're at the back end of the turn, you're pretty much smoked. But it really comes down to how you're drafting, and with a little bit of luck, you can do it. But I mean, this is top 7 is apparently like where you want to be. Yep, is top 7 is where most winners come from. So that's all I wanted to show.
Okay.
But looking at this. So
because we obviously we kind of want to go quickly through these first couple of rounds, because this is similar to real fantasy.
Yep.
We can get into like I said, we only got about 25 minutes, so we can get into a few of the other mid-range. And I'm going to let you do the picking. We'll not argue a whole lot.
You're going to argue. I already know you are.
Well, obviously, the first question right off the bat is, we already talked about it. If you think Zeke Elliott, I feel Zeke Elliott to me is the number 3 guy. But with the information we got today, does that change in your mind? And or not being a best ball guy, does Alvin Kamara, who I guess in my mind I always think of Alvin Kamara more likely to have big games than Elliott in my mind, meaning he might not have the overall stats at the end of the season, but I think he's going to have a couple more bigger games because he's more likely to catch more passes than Zeke. So who would you pick here?
At least for me, I would wind up going Kamara, and I probably would have done the same thing like prior to the news anyway. Okay. Bouncing back after a poor season with injuries, he's still like a huge part of that offense. I want Kamara.
I'm going to put Kamara in there. That we're going to draft him. Oh, let me hit the button. And there it goes. All right. So now we're going to jump to round 2. Early on here, I'm not going to name a lot of names. We're really just going to discuss players around us. Or if I see something crazy, maybe we'll discuss it. Because this is based on best ball ADP. Austin Eckler went early in the second round.
Yep.
Aaron Jones, Travis Kelce in the second round. Is Travis Kelce a good best ball tight end?
Oh, absolutely. If you can, like his cost, I don't think is all too extravagant for the positional value that he brings to the table.
All right, I'll put our roster. So we have Kamara. All right, it's suggesting Kittle, Allen Robinson, Kenny Galladay, Mike Evans. Obviously, I can select. I can tell it to select a particular player or position if you want to see something else. Or do you see something you like from that list?
I don't mind taking George Kittle there just to see how things work out throughout the rest of the draft. But I don't mind taking George Kittle there. Let's see who else is available at running back.
Our running backs would be Leonard Fournette, Todd Gurley, Melvin Gordon, Chris Carson.
No, nobody I'd want to take at the back end of the second round. And then wide receivers, I could argue. I mean, while I personally prefer Mike Evans there.
Galladay, Evans, and then they now are suggesting Juju Schuster.
Yeah, I could just as easily justify taking some of those guys in the third round. So yeah, I'm fine with taking George Kittle.
So you and now we didn't put it on here. Obviously, this isn't a league where there's tight end, incentives or anything. Is that something in best ball, or do most best balls just have standard scoring?
FFPC, they have 1.5 tight end scoring, so it's a tight end premium scoring. So Travis Kelce goes in the middle to back end of the first round. George Kittle goes in the early to mid second. Mark Andrew typically goes at the 2-3 turn, with Zach Ertz like shortly after that.
All right. So we're going to go George Kittle in round 2. So we're starting with Kamara and George Kittle.
Not bad.
And we'll move on here. If you want to follow along, we are on YouTube. Just search a Fantasy Fan, all one word, and you'll find us. We're live on YouTube every Wednesday night around 10 o'clock. So they are now recommending Allen Robinson, Patrick Mahomes, Juju Smith-Schuster, DJ Moore. So if you want to see more options, I can bring them up for you. Or does one of those ring a bell to you as far as a best ball option?
Allen Robinson still at the top for me. My personal preference actually puts me towards DJ Moore. That would be my personal. Let's see who we got at running
backs. Todd Gurley, Melvin Gordon, Chris Carson, Le'Veon Bell.
No,
I have in the back of my mind. I'm a Todd Gurley guy in the back of my head. If I can get him in the third round of a regular league, I'll be tickled.
Yeah.
But I think he's got something to prove. He's on a contract year. But I'm letting you pick most of these. You're the best ball guy. So you like Moore?
Yeah, I'd take Allen Robinson, but I'd like DJ Moore, but I'd still take Allen Robinson over
Allen Robinson first, even without, again, not the argument, just questioning the quarterback thing. There's a little questionable in my mind. You don't think that it doesn't matter who's the quarterback for Chicago if Robinson's worth picking this early?
Well, yeah, because if we want to talk about quarterback situations, is Ben Roethlisberger healthy? Juju Smith-Schuster? Like, how great is Teddy Bridgewater going to be behind Carolina's line? So for DJ Moore, so all three of them have warts, but I'll take the guy that has the highest projected target share out of the three of them.
And Mahomes, no consideration at all this early in best ball.
Too early.
Gotcha. We're going with Allen Robinson. We'll let it do the auto draft for the rest of that.
So all the rest of those guys are going to be gone.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon, Patrick, Le'Veon, DJ Moore, Chris Carson, Amari Cooper. Juju's gone. Singletary. I really thought maybe Singletary come back to us, to be real honest. That was the one name I'm kind of on him right now. He's the Chicago Bear I like. So,
really?
Yeah, I think. It is now suggestion Robert Wood, Keenan Allen, Zach Ertz, which obviously we already have a tight end, but I know in best ball you want to have at least two. I just don't know how important it is to get two great ones or good ones because we can't.
Little early
in our setup though, we can't use one in the flex. So, and then it's recommending Dak Prescott as a QB right now. Do you want to see running backs?
Please.
Running backs. Montgomery didn't go. Oh, Singletary I saw. Singletary for Buffalo. Montgomery is still there. Kareem Hunt and Swift. If you like him in Detroit. If I don't know, I'm staying away from Detroit running backs, but
hey. Yeah, I understand that. If anything, I would probably lean more towards because maybe so David Johnson already got taken, I'm assuming. So at running back, I would probably lean David Montgomery here. But who else is at so who else is at
receivers? Keenan Allen Woods, Devontae Parker, Cortland Sutton. Those are the top 4 recommendations.
Like
I said, Ingram, Montgomery, Hunt, Swift.
Yeah, to be quite honest with you, give me Robert Woods there.
Robert Woods. Let me get back. I like him. I still Keenan Allen keeps falling. I know they're talking about the quarterback and the offense and the coach there, but Keenan Allen's a damn good wide receiver.
I mean, yeah, still a good wide receiver, but I mean, 130 targets back-to-back seasons for Robert Woods. I'll take that.
All right. Wide receivers, since I'm on that screen now, are who went after that? Montgomery, Keenan Allen, Ingram went. It's our pick again. Devontae Parker, DJ Chark, Tyler Lockett, T.Y. Hilton are the wide receivers.
Who's their running back?
The running backs are Swift, Mostert, Hunt, James White. Those are the 4 recommended. I can look and see if there's more if you want to see more.
Let's look at who else is available.
Let me cheat sheet. They changed their setup this year. So let me click off high drafted players. They're showing the top running backs available right now would be Hunt, Swift, Mostert, White, Akers, Darius Geis, Lindsey, Vaughn, Breida, Cohen. That's kind of the tier I have marked where I've been playing with my list there. That's a tier. Then it drops Kerryon Johnson, Damian Williams, Jordan Howard.
Okay. So, yeah, it's a little bit early for most of those guys. So let's look at the
quarterback is Prescott, which I still have as a top tier kind of guy. Then Russell Wilson, Murray, Watson, Allen. Then again, Devontae Parker, Lockett, Chark, Hilton, McLaurin, Diggs, Metcalf.
Yep. Yeah, let's go back. I mean, we still have to start 3 wide receivers each week anyway, so I don't mind going one more wide receiver here and then looking at the running back position and maybe doubling up on the back end.
What wide receiver did you like?
So who is available here?
Well, the top suggestions are Devontae Parker, DJ Chark, Tyler Lockett, T.Y. Hilton. I still think Tyler Lockett's a number 1 on a team where Wilson's going to throw the ball.
I think Tyler Lockett there is a slam dunk. I like him.
The best quarterback of the group.
Yeah, I mean, Devontae Parker is being I think really overvalued at this point. DJ Chark is probably a close second to me out of that group. Probably T.Y. Hilton belongs at the bottom of that list.
Okay. So who am I taking?
Lockett.
All right. And is there any best ball? Obviously, this is a best ball show. Is there any best ball thought going into this? Does any of these guys have a better shot at obviously my opinion, I guess, and maybe I'm wrong, in best ball is every once in a while I'm looking for the guy. Am I better off having a guy that has 6 huge weeks, but the overall stats are lower? Or am I looking for a guy that's more likely to just have, 10 or 11 above average weeks? Does that come into play when you're thinking this stuff?
Well, here in the early rounds, I mean, that's really, you do want that ceiling floor combo, like high floor, high ceiling. And I think with Tyler Lockett, I think you have that. I mean, outside of the games where he was either injured or sick, I mean, he had a high floor with high ceiling, like multiple touchdown weeks.
Right.
I mean, DJ Chark, I mean, he didn't really have that. I mean, he had some high ceiling weeks, but the floor when attached to Gardner Minshew, I mean, that can be pretty low. Okay. So I do like the idea of DJ Chark. I would probably put him second behind Tyler Lockett. And then with Devontae Parker, we don't know what that offense is going to look like. I mean, with Preston Williams coming back, I don't know if it's going to be, I'm assuming it's going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick, Tua maybe. We don't know. And then T.Y. Hilton.
All right. I took Lockett. So now we got a ways to go. Now there'll be a lot of people taken before now. So we're getting into round 5. Now for us, we'll be picking now in round 6. Is this the point where you start looking at your roster? Obviously, we have 3 wide receivers right now: Robinson, Woods, Lockett. We have a tight end. We have Kittle, but we still only have 1 running back, Kamara. And obviously, in the league this year, it seems like running backs drop off in a hurry. So, what are we looking at now? While I'm here, suggested wide receivers are Boyd, Landry, Edelman. I still don't. I think Edelman is still going to be the top receiver on a team that's going to throw the ball, not a ton, but he caught a lot of passes last year. But we are weak in running back. We're going to start picking some eventually. James White's, Darius Geis, Keyshawn Vaughn, Philip Lindsay. Those are the suggestions. If you want to see more, let me know.
Let's see more. Let's see who else is out there.
Let me go cheat sheet, running back. And James White, Geis, Lindsay, Vaughn, Breida, Cohen, Sony Michel, which I find that odd now. We are in PPR here, but I'm amazed. Sony Michel, in my mind, is still the starter in New England, but he is going ADP lower than James White. I got a feeling they're going to run more this year, meaning I'd rather have Sony Michel around later, maybe 2 rounds later if he sneaks in, than I would James White, just because I think there's just as good a shot at getting points out of him. But that's what we're looking at running back wise. And then it goes Kerryon Johnson. Still Damian Williams is there, which, there's a shot that he's the number 1 running back all year long on a top offense.
Yeah, I would take Damian Williams here, hands down.
Okay. Not hoping at this point. We're not. I mean, you remember, we only have 3 picks between us. We're going to get a pick again. So, I think he would fall to us anyway. I guess my first thing would be: is there anybody, even at this point, a couple wide receivers that may not come back to us? Meaning Landry, Boyd, Edelman. None of them we're going to get again. Any of those could go in the next 3 picks, but I do think Damian Williams is low enough in ADP that we're going to get him regardless who we would take here. Is that part of your consideration?
No, because all of those guys, at least for me, are in either a separate tier or a lower tier. And if I got any one of those 3, I'd be fine with that. Damian Williams, I think, is...
you don't want to take a chance of someone taking Damian Williams.
Yeah, at this point, with the way the roster is constructed, I'd rather place that priority on getting that RB2, since we already have
RB2. There's a chance in a crazy world that he's one of the top running backs at the end of the season. If he plays all year, like we've seen him do two seasons in a row at the end, he just needs to put those 2 ends together to make one season. So, all right. We took him, and now, excuse me, that would give us, let me go to suggestions. And overall, because right now we need to probably look at all positions. Let me just see. The top at each position is Deshaun Watson, Julian Edelman, James White, Darius Geis, another guy who, as of right now, is the starter on his team. Not a good team, but he is a starter on the team.
Who else is available at wide receiver? Who else would they recommend here?
Let me see. Edelman, Gallup, Fuller, Marvin Jones.
Michael Gallup is still there.
I know, but he's in a new offense with another wide receiver, a better tight end, a second-year tight end. I don't know. I still think Edelman's the only person on that team that's going to catch passes.
But they still have N'Keal Harry. They still have his second season he's coming on.
People are making fun of Edelman because of his age, but last year was one of his best fantasy years ever. He's, scored over 250 points.
But it's just now with Jarrett Stidham, I'm not willing to invest at that point.
Running backs right now, if you want to look at that, is James White, Geis, Vaughn, Lindsay.
None of that is super exciting, at least here at this point. Are there other? And I feel like there are other guys that I'm interested in just based off of the hype surrounding their rookies. So guys like Marlon Mack, I'm still interested in, who I don't think is all too terrible. But he's.
Let me pull up the cheat sheet and see where somebody like Marlon Mack, ADP wise, based on this. And unfortunately, I've done enough mock drafts to know we got a really good shot at getting Marlon Mack, one of our next 2 picks.
Mm-hmm.
Other than this one, I don't think you're going to see any of the names I've already named aren't coming back. I'm still curious in best ball. We're still not worried about quarterback, right? It's only a 1 quarterback league. Deshaun Watson and Allen, I do have in a tier kind of on their own. I think both could be top quarterbacks into the year if things went right. Mm-hmm. And then it's your average guys after that. I don't know if that's a consideration or not at this point.
No, not right now. I mean, if I was capable of getting the upper echelon dudes at a decent price, so I'm talking pretty much anybody from Dak Prescott and before. So Dak, Russ, Kyler, Lamar, Patrick Mahomes. So I was able to get any one of those guys like at value or like slightly below their ADP, sure. But otherwise, I'll wait until the QB 8, 9, 10, like somewhere in there.
The other suggestion that didn't come up, and I know it's a health issue, so I'm going to ask in best ball. Mm-hmm. If Will Fuller's the number 1 in Houston, and we know he's capable of doing things that Deshaun, Watson from the past,
right?
Are we reaching on somebody like that at this point because of injury, or I think right now he is their number 1, right?
I think Brandon Cooks is their number 1.
I think Cooks is number 2 if Fuller's healthy, but I think that's I see what you're. You may be right.
Brandon Cooks can run a fuller route tree or like more routes than Will Fuller can.
Right, that was only my suggestion. So who do you like? Let's make a pick.
I'm with Michael Gallup. Honestly, what's the difference between Michael Gallup and Will Fuller since Gallup is healthier? If you want to look for an outside wide receiver, boom bust outside wide receiver who also plays on a pass happy offense.
My concern there. We'll draft Gallup, but just out loud, my concern is I think it's more likely Fuller healthy is the number 1 than Gallup could be healthy and still be a number 3 on that team because of the rookie coming in. That would be my argument if I'm going to argue with you. Would be,
yeah, but that needs to happen.
That Fuller is the number 1 if nothing changes. He just, either outplays or Deshaun Watson already likes him, so he's the number 1. Right. I think they had to consider some of that. You got to remember, they got Cook later. They made the trade, and at that point Fuller was the number 1. So I'm still not sure they brought in Cook to be the number 1. So that would be my argument. I don't think there's any shot that Gallup is the number 1, or if he is, he's barely the number 1. Obviously, I think that's Cooper, and again, could be the rookie. That's my argument. We're drafting him because this is your draft, Chris Allen.
That's right.
Let's move on. We're moving now through. We'll be picking round 8. Just so everybody know, we have Kamara, Damian Williams as our 2 running backs. We have Robinson, Woods, Lockett, Kittle, and Gallup.
All right.
And we now have running backs available: Lindsey, Breida, Cohen, Johnson, Ronald Jones, and Marlon Mack still there. That's what I figured. I figured he'd fall to this here. Mm-hmm. Then we went too far. The last wide receiver I have in tier 5 is John Brown. Then it goes Crowder, Shepard, Anthony Miller, Sanders, Mike Williams. So those are your wide receivers. Just to throw it out there, I don't know where he is overall ADP. I like Jared Cook, and I don't know if Jared Cook, a best ball type tight end, if you're going to have 2 of them, maybe even if you're going to have 3, I don't know, because we have Kittle. Do we need 3? And to me, if we're only going to go with 2, Cook is kind of one of the last guys at a tier I like, where he could be, a top guy when this is all said and done. I just don't know if it's too early for us to look at another tight end here.
If this was on FFPC, I would consider taking Cook here as our second tight end because you're drafting more rounds, the tight end premium scoring, so on and so forth. If this was at Fanball, 20 rounds, non-tight end premium, and we already have George Kittle, I would wait until probably, because of the draft capital we spent, I'd probably look at somebody much later.
As the novice, what you're saying is we got one real good when we can get two more at the end that are,
or even just one more to offset the bye weeks and just be done with it.
Okay. Drew Brees, Rodgers, Stafford are our 3 top quarterback suggestions, but there's still, Roethlisberger, Joe Burrow's out there, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Mr. Rivers. So that's what we have out there. Running back Lindsey, Breida, Cohen, Johnson, already mentioned those. Any of those names?
Give me Marlon Mack.
Marlon Mack. All right.
Still do like me some Marlon Mack.
Again, in 3 more picks. So there's nobody above him. You don't have a problem. I mean, if we get Mack and Jones comes back or John Brown comes back, do you like? I like John Brown. I'm just kind of getting an idea of who might you want to draft 3 picks from now.
I'd probably be looking at the quarterback position, to be quite honest, because it looks like
okay. And
because we're at quarterback, 8, 9, somewhere in there.
Yeah, right. Okay. And I think worst case, Drew Brees gets drafted in the next couple picks, and I don't have a problem if he goes anyway. My opinion. All right, Marlon Mack, we're gonna draft. Which again, I think in best ball, there's a shot he plays all season. Now that's the problem. We have one really good starter, and Damian Williams and Marlon Mack are, might get 2 good start or might start 2 games and not start again. But
right.
All right. Drew Brees did not go. So we have Phillip Lindsay, Breida, Cohen still. Wide receivers, Crowder, Shepard, Miller, Sanders. And quarterback, Brees, Rodgers, Stafford.
So Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, like all those guys are gone. Out of that group, if those guys are there, I'm taking Matthew Stafford, to be quite honest.
I guess because I haven't been paying attention, I could probably click on other rosters. I don't know how many other people have more than 1 quarterback. How many quarterbacks are you trying to get in a best ball league?
If we're on Fanball 20 rounds, I'm probably taking 2 if we're drafting here in the middle rounds. I'd probably go like Matthew Stafford and then come back in the next couple of rounds and get somebody like Baker Mayfield, Ryan Tannehill, Ben Roethlisberger, something like that. If it's FFPC, I'd probably be looking at like 3 quarterbacks. Maybe most likely, and then probably in the same vein, get a mid-round quarterback. So in the Matthew Stafford, Josh Allen, like range, like over there, and then pick up a later one. So in the Jimmy Garoppolo area, if we want to do that, and then go even later and get like a Teddy Bridgewater, like towards the back end.
So you like Stafford over Rodgers at this point?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, especially with what they're doing.
I love Stafford, but I think Aaron Rodgers with a chip on his shoulder is going to have a good year. Just saying. That's my opinion.
I'm not saying he's going to have a bad season. It's just, to me, it looks like they want to try and turn that into a run first team. They might not be able to do that because of their defense.
In a 2 quarterback league, if I could leave the draft having Rodgers and Stafford as my 2 QBs, I'll be ecstatic.
That's cool. Yep.
All right. We're going to take Stafford. And let's see where we go from there. What did I? Oh, wait, no, hold on.
I actually have to draft.
Yeah, I clicked the wrong.
Let's go.
You gotta. Hey, which reminder? Practice your mouse skills before you're drafting online. That's just a little heads up there.
Jerry Judy, Darius Slayton, James Crowder, Justin Jefferson.
A lot of decent players going there.
Sure, Latavius Murray. Blah 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 blah. Okay.
Suggestions at running back now: Duke Johnson, Alexander Madison. Which I don't know. Right now, there's a shot. Is that the kind of shot you take in best ball?
It still feels early for some reason. I don't know why. I feel like
Hines, Tony Pollard. To me, those are all. To me, if I'm taking a shot on running back here, it's Madison. I'll take a shot that I get. There's a holdout and he plays the whole season. But again, that's me. I'm a gambler. Wide receivers, Alshon Jeffries, speaking of gambling. Golden Tate, I like with the Giants this year. Preston Williams, Sammy Watkins. In best ball, is Sammy Watkins one of those people? I mean, Sammy Watkins is going to have 2 big games this year, and nobody has a clue when. So I don't even know, how does he fall as a best ball option?
His ADP is slowly on the rise, if I'm not mistaken, or it might be holding steady. But perceivably the wide receiver 2 in that option. I mean, he's the 3rd pass catching option, maybe the 4th if we want to count the running backs. So he's behind Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, either one of the running backs. Sure, you're probably getting, decent equity being attached to Patrick Mahomes, but nobody I really want to reach on. I would rather look at this point. I would probably draft Tony Pollard over all of that. The Alexander Madison stuff, like with Dalvin Cook holding out. I mean, I don't think he's going to hold out for. I don't think he's going to miss any games. I don't think he's going to wind up holding out into the season. Even still, like Alexander Madison, I mean, there's still a couple of guys that are around him. Like they still use Mike Boone. I mean, they still wind up using Amir Abdullah. He's still there. So it's not like Alexander Madison would have the backfield all to himself. I'd rather take Tony Pollard.
All right. So Pollard right now.
Yeah.
My issue with Pollard is I think we can get him later. I just really believe that. I think Pollard's going to come back around where we could get him later. So is this a shot where that's when I start looking as an amateur. That's where I would go, okay, I convinced the guy I really want here might be Pollard, but I'll gamble that it comes all the way back around to us. So I would take Jared Cook, who I know won't come back. I don't think Madison's going to come back. I don't think Aaron Rodgers, maybe Baker Mayfield doesn't come back. None of that matters to you?
Well, we already have a quarterback, so we don't need Baker Mayfield. We got a tight end, so we already got George Kittle.
All right. Need that. But the second quarterback, I guess you don't get points for anything other than the one that's playing. All right. So you like Tony Pollard over all the other guys. What about Zach Moss?
Nope.
As a rookie? Okay. All right. We're going to draft Pollard here. And we're gonna it's only gonna bump 3, so we should get a go. Oh no, we already picked the third. This is it picked we're right back around. So
we're back at it. So
still can get Jared Cook, but you said there Golden Tate I like. Alshon Jeffrey's healthy. Is there any shot? I know you like his quarterback.
He's still there's still rumors flying around about either 1, he starts the season on the PUP, or 2, he gets cut before the season starts. So
to me, those are important rumors right now. If you're drafting,
so I'd be fine to either, if somebody wants to draft him now, they can hold on to that landmine, or if he falls to us later, then so be it.
All right. So we have Duke Johnson, Madison, Hines, and Moss. Wide receivers, we have Tate, Jeffries, Watkins, Curtis Samuel now, Deshaun Jackson. Maybe. Now, does Deshaun Jackson have any more value if Alshon Jeffries doesn't start?
But still, it's the question of, is he ready to roll? Does he have any injury concerns?
All right, it's the opposite. Okay.
Same deal.
Quarterbacks, Rodgers, Jones, Mayfield, Roethlisberger.
I'd be fine holding off on most of those guys. And to be quite honest, we'd have to make sure that the bye week's offset. But I really like Jimmy Garoppolo as a later round as a late quarterback. Yeah,
he's going to come around. We won't have to draft him.
I would wait for him, to be quite honest. So let's look at what wide receivers are available.
Wide receivers, like I said, are Tate, Jeffries, Watkins, Samuel, Henry, Renfro, Westbrook, Campbell, Lazard, Fitzgerald. I don't know, in a PPR league. Corey Davis, Tyrell Williams, James Washington in Pittsburgh. Who knows what goes on in Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Is there any chance James Washington's the number 1 and Juju Schuster is just had one good season?
I think it's more of Deontay Johnson had one good season.
Oh yeah, you're right. I forgot about Johnson. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd much rather bank on Deontay Johnson being a flash in the pan than Juju Smith-Schuster.
Gotcha.
So from a wide receiver standpoint, so John Brown's got Golden Tate is probably the one that sticks out the most out of that group. I wouldn't mind picking him up there.
All right. So we're going to draft Golden Tate. And I think we've been over an hour and 10 minutes now. So let's just let's see what happens here and go to this last pick. Probably should start a little sooner. I'd like to gotten a little deeper. But we are already up.
And we built a solid core at this point. We can talk about that. We're going to be
drafting. Let's just draft here. These quick 2. We're drafting our 12th and 13th round.
Okay.
The top quarterbacks, Roethlisberger, Tannehill, Goff, Burrow, Garoppolo's still there. Running backs, you have Edmonds, Justin Jackson. What are they going to do with Justin Jackson in L.A.?
So he'll be the running back 2 to offset like Austin Eckler, who, I mean, he still had a touch share with Melvin Gordon while they were both available for the Chargers. So it's possible that Justin Jackson has weekly value and then some standalone value should Austin Eckler get hurt.
Jamal Williams kind of is the same way, right? There's like
pretty much
3 or 4 running backs though there. That's the problem.
Yeah, but it's just like with the investment in AJ Dillon that the Packers made,
who is a name right below there. So wide receivers, you still have Harry, Renfro, Westbrook, Campbell, Lazard, Fitzgerald, Corey Davis.
Let's confirm. So what are the bye weeks for?
Well, we're only trying to drive. We're like it's been an hour and 10 minutes. I mean, I think people would know to pay attention to that.
Yeah, so I would say that if we can, I'd be fine with having Matthew Stafford and Ben Roethlisberger.
Okay, we're just going to do that now. And again, right? People, we're not.
That's assuming. And I'm looking it up right now. So let's
just doing it for this aspect. But I know what you're saying, right? In best ball, you don't want them. In regular leagues where you can make moves or changes, I don't pay attention to that. I figure I'll trade a quarterback or move somebody, or by then pick somebody up that's now a starter.
Okay.
For waiver wire week. But in best ball, you can't do that, guys. So best ball, make sure that they don't overlap.
Detroit is week 5. Pittsburgh is week 8. So we're good.
Right. This is our last pick before we move on tonight. We have Jamal Williams, Penny, Bernard, Evans, McFarland, Jalen Richard. Wide receivers, we have Harry, Renfro, Westbrook, Campbell, Lazard, Fitzgerald. Again, in PPR, I still don't mind Fitzgerald. He's going to have a 10-catch week somewhere down the line. What do you think about Hunter Renfro? Is there any chance he's the number 1 there in Las Vegas?
No, I can't see him being the number 1. I mean, he'll be an ancillary player like the best.
Is there a shot he's the favorite target at some point? This Carr, you don't think so? All right. Just asking my questions. That's what I do.
I hear you. Out of all that, I would probably take N'Keal Harry.
Harry, I'm looking where I do. The other thing, we didn't take a second tight end, and we're still Jared Cook. He stayed on a long time hooper. Hayden Hurst. What do you think of Hayden Hurst?
Still take Jared Cook ahead of him. I do like Hayden Hurst.
I guess I'm just telling people, right? If Cook isn't there, I'm just looking for that. Get an idea before we leave tonight who you might have liked as a second tight end.
In order, I'd probably take Jared out of that list I see under tier 3. I'd probably take Jared Cook first, maybe then Mike Gesicki after that, Hayden Hurst after that, Austin Hooper after that, and then TJ Hawkinson, Noah Fant, and so on and so forth.
All right. And that'll give everybody an idea. All right. So we're going to take Harry for New England. And I'll read off what we ended up with then. And there's 3 more picks, and then, or we'd have 2 more regular spots, and then our defenses and our kicker. But in best ball, and that's probably what we didn't do here. Our bench should have been bigger anyway on this draft.
Yeah,
because you obviously want 2 kickers and 2 defenses in most cases. Okay, so we didn't even make the bench big enough to do that.
That's okay.
So we ended up with quarterback Stafford. Then we have running backs Kamara, Williams, Mack, Pollard. And I forgot we had Ben Roethlisberger. We just picked him up. That was our second QB. At wide receiver, we had Allen Robinson, Robert Woods, Tyler Lockett, Golden Tate, and McNeil Harry. For New England. So that's what we have there, which technically in best ball, they're all your starters, or they're all your players. There is nothing there. Obviously, you'd want to pick 2 defenses, 2 kickers. Real quick, what are you looking for in kickers and defenses?
Kickers, I'm looking for. I mean, if they're attached to good offenses, but not great offenses.
Warm weather, dome kicking make a difference.
Yeah, so guys like Younghoe Koo, so he's the Atlanta's kicker. I would even go for like Joey Sly. So if we're thinking that with the Carolina's kicker, so that'd be a good target. Even who is Cleveland Browns kicker? So just like a lot of those, I mean. let's see, Tucker and Harrison Butker, and like all those guys are going to go early. Right. But you still want to try and look for some of those offenses that are still going to be good. Points. Yeah, okay. At least move the ball.
And defenses, I guess I'm not even sure what to look for. I mean, obviously, every year what we seems to be the top defense isn't always, and what's going to be a bad defense sometimes ends up being a better defense than we think. Yep. So, are you looking for maybe one that you think's going to be really good, and then one that could be good, or you just you just wait the last 2 picks and you take 2?
No, I think one that I think is going to be good. So we were talking about Cleveland's defense. I think it's going to be pretty good. Pittsburgh's defense. My
problem with Cleveland will be, but they're in a pretty good offensive division, though. I mean, do you consider that at all when you're drafting a defense? Meaning, would I rather have a mediocre defense in a division that's questionable offense? I mean, technically, in my opinion, the Giants, the Cowboys, the Eagles. I don't even know how many points are going to be scored in that group. And
not really, because people take Baltimore's defense. They're in the same division. People take San Francisco's defense, and they have to play against Seattle and the Cardinals. That's why
I'm here. I'm only here to make you look good.
I'm answering your questions with more questions.
I agree. That's a good. I agree. You're right there. I just was curious. Again, in best ball, how much you look into that stuff. So,
nah, not really.
All right, we'll. Next, I did get the word out there. We're up to, I think, 5-6 people that have committed they would do a best ball thing. So I don't know that I'm not sure if we'll have enough yet for next week. So maybe next week we'll just
all right,
piddle around a little bit more and talk football. Maybe we'll have some more news to talk about.
Let's do it.
But we're hoping at some point to either one, get a draft live on the air, or at a minimum, me and you will do a show while we're drafting and then play that.
Sure.
As a show, and we'll go that route. So I know you said earlier you weren't doing much, but now you've done an article or 2. Where can people find what you're doing?
You can find me on Twitter at Chris Allen FFWX. All of my work. I've got a ton of stuff that I'll be doing now for the next month or so. Find it primarily at 4for4. Might be in some other places. I've got some things cooking right now, so we'll figure it out.
I love cooking.
Yeah. We'll figure it out.
Love cooking. You got things smoking.
Yeah, we're going to figure this out.
Did you brew another beer?
I haven't yet. Actually, I'm probably going to brew on Saturday.
I talked to your buddy today.
Was he
I said I talked to Chris, and he said this last brew he kind of messed up because he did too much with it. Joey just shook his head. He goes, "That sounds like Chris." That's all I can say. That sounds like Chris. Mr. Chris Allen, FFWX. I'm Ezekiel at a Fantasy Fan. Shoot us any comments or anything. Thanks for joining us. Had a blast again. Again, we always seem to have fun. That's all that matters, right? We just have a good time and
absolutely
and chat it up. So, Chris, say goodnight.
Good night.
This has been Just a Fantasy Fan podcast. And to keep your fantasies going, follow us at justafantasyfan.com. Say good night. Good night.